And we are live for another Biddle on Saturday night.
Good
What's going
evening.
on? What's happening? What's the deal with this challenge we did last week? Who wants to go first?
Was there a challenge last week?
There was, Colin.
I'd just show my age, I think, Rocco, because I can't remember that we did a challenge last
Wow, what a way to get out of the challenge, Colin.
Wait, let me pull a knife out of the chest. That hurts.
Should I confess? Okay, I run the live disc of Ubuntu Studio, and it looked like it was working top notch. Looked a bit boring, so I moved on.
Wow, that is terrible. That is so terrible of you. I mean, I did the same exact thing, but I mean, that is so terrible.
Well, I'm happy to never to make a challenge or offer a challenge next time.
No. It had nothing to do with you presenting it. It was just, I installed it, and it actually looks pretty nice. I mean, to me, it's an Ubuntu theme that's blue, so I love it that it's blue, and that's great. It looks good, but in the end, it was just XFC with extra programs that I'm probably not going to use. If I was going to use those technical programs, then it would be okay.
Well, the thing for me, Rocco, where I was most curious with you was how it would work for you. Now, I guess that would have been a lot to ask to put it on your main system, but because you had XFCE issues like I have, and it's running for me, and I was curious to see if it would run for you the same way.
You know? Well, I did put it on the hard drive on this system, but I didn't like super test it out because, like I said, I didn't play no games on it. I didn't test it to see if it would actually work without screen tearing and issues like that, putting it on the right monitor. But like I said, there was a ton of programs on there that would be great if you were using those programs. If they were, your programs that you used, that would be the way to go. But a lot of those programs are way technical, way over my head as far as
there's a lot of audio support in Ubuntu Studio, I noticed. So, I mean, maybe somebody like Scrap might find it handy. I'm not sure. But does he use that anyway? I think he might have said he uses Ubuntu Studio, does he?
Yeah, Ryan said that he started out on Ubuntu Studio when he first came to Linux, and Scrap uses half of those programs anyway. Right. So like he uses Jack and Carla and all this stuff. So it's like, that's great, but they're way technical. I don't even have the equipment. Like somebody who's going to use them has,
synthesizers
But the reality of it is you don't have to when you're loading it. There's checkboxes. You don't have to load anywhere near.
Oh, no.
I just did it just to see how it would run full boat, and obviously they sit here and don't do anything. But that's if you don't want to use all that stuff, you don't have to load it all up. That's the nice thing about it. And then you just put on what you want.
Well, so you installed it and used it for 24 hours, and I did hit all those checkboxes because I think, like you, Joe, I wanted to see what it ended up coming with. But I mean, like Rocco, my mic goes into the back of the PC. That's it. I've got no knobs to twiddle. I mean, and it worked well. But for me, the monitors wouldn't go to sleep.
Really?
And on my particular monitor here, this Philips does warn that if you leave it on for longer than 30 minutes without doing anything, you can end up getting screen burn. Now, I've never had that before, and thankfully I didn't get it with I've got a couple of people waiting, so let me go.
I'll get them. You keep talking, I'll get them.
Yeah. So I installed it, and then I woke up the next morning and my monitor was still on, and I have no idea. I had all the settings that I would normally have had, but it was still stuck there. So it was very frustrating that it wouldn't switch off the monitors. Now, I cannot have a distribution that doesn't switch off the monitors because it would just wreck my system. And I also discovered as well that it doesn't play well with multiple monitors. Like I would open up Steam, and it would appear on this little monitor over here, and then when it finished doing its bits and pieces, it would end up on a big one over here. So, it didn't.
Now, does that happen in other XFCE versions, or?
I didn't notice it in Ubuntu, but shock horror, I have noticed it in Peppermint.
The one thing I did notice about that, the comment about that, Zeb, is on here, if I have clicked on the second monitor and then I go to my main monitor, open something up, it will open on the monitor that I was last clicked on.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. As far as the multi-monitor, I've been fine. And, I never did look to see what my 34-inch says, but I usually have mine go to sleep, or at least after an hour. I go to sleep and just go blank, so it saves a screen. I should probably do it at 30 minutes, but if I'm sitting here most of the time, it doesn't matter.
I think sorry.
No, go on, Chicken.
In terms of the opening on whatever monitor that you last clicked on, there's that typically works everywhere, and it's just more or less considered the active monitor whenever something is activated in it. But if that's ever not working, you should be very, very afraid.
Very afraid.
If this is my main monitor, I expect programs to open up on here regardless. If I then want to move them across to the second monitor, like I've just done now, so you can all see yourself on my other, if I want to do that, fine. But it shouldn't just randomly choose where to put a program. And it does seem to be random. I can find no settings anywhere. And we've changed over to the XFC for display settings, but I can't. And I don't know if it's anything to do with, this is an old DVI, that's a HDMI, but my main monitor's DP.
I'm using all DP here, and the same thing happens to me.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, and because I've got HDMI and I've got DVI running here too. I don't have displays hooked up right now, even though I could. The only other thing I could say that is consistent with this, if you remember, I've complained about the mouse being so quick, even at its lowest settings. And interestingly enough, on the test laptop, I was going to put this on it. And sure enough, that mouse just seemed so touchy. It was like I could hardly control it. And yet I thought, okay, well, let me go back to Peppermint, to see what that does. And sure enough, Peppermint acted like it's supposed to, and so did Linux Lite. So it's got to be, that's the one thing I could say in here that drives me nuts. But that's the only thing right now since I figured out the printer driver and all that. But yeah, I mean, it may not be for everybody. I was just curious how it would run, because so far I was just pleasantly surprised. I hadn't run it in a long time and just tried it after I had my Ubuntu Mate hiccup. So I'm still waiting for a point release for that. But
I have to admit, I've never really noticed it, because I just find myself going, really? Oh. Is it over there? Bring it over here.
No, that drives me insane. It does. It literally drives me insane. When
I think I just put up with it. I don't really. I've never really taken any notice of putting where things land on what monitor. So,
but it's not just XFCE, because there's other desktops that do it. I don't notice it in GNOME a lot. Like, I think it may have happened one time in GNOME, but in KDE the same thing happens. There's actually a setting in KDE that I check every time that says mouse follows or screen follows active. Mouse follows active screen or something like that. And you have to check that, and that will help. It'll kind of eliminate most of it where it'll put it on the right, but it'll randomly put Windows on the other side too. So it's not just XFCE.
War Thunder does that. It kind of opens up between the two of them. And I have to change it down to a smaller screen to have it work on my main one. Yet on Mate, it didn't do that. So I'm not sure what the issue. Oh, if anybody starts complaining about the resolution, this was happening the other day. I just looked over and noticed that the live feed is at 144. YouTube was doing that the other day.
I don't know what YouTube is up to. They was doing it to my live feeds yesterday, all over the place. People were saying, "Oh, Zeb, you're fuzzy," and I was going, "No, check YouTube. It doesn't automatically choose 720 now or whatever."
That's ridiculous.
That must be like a new setting, because I don't remember that happening before, but it is happening every time lately, where it just automatically defaults to 144.
To 144, yes. I don't know whether
it's been a few days.
Yep.
Oh, it's been longer than a few days, I think, because I noticed it over a week ago the first time. I mean, one thing I did notice is your highlighting is corrected, though, Rocco.
Well, I changed it around. I removed I found out what I was doing. Before I was using Restream Chat, and then I was using I switched to the Linux browser in OBS to put up the chat, and that for some reason doesn't pick up the new YouTube highlighting that they decided they wanted to do. But so I went back to using just the pop-out chat window and putting that up there in the dark theme, and it's working. So that's all that matters. EB in the house.
Yeah, man out just showed up. Oh, excuse me. Did I say that out loud?
Mr. Easter Egg Head turned into EB when he moved his camera.
That's rough, Zeb. Wow.
Wow.
Well, all we could see was like this little shiny dome. At the
Oh, he's getting a grin, so he must hear us. He better
and
speak.
it turned into the mighty EB. How you doing, English Bob?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Good. Well, at least now your blue cast on your earphones at least match your operating system.
Wow. You don't have to take
Sorry,
this.
Steve.
This is
I
not
just-
right. This guy comes in here to talk to us, and everybody treats him like that. I mean, really?
Wow.
That's because we love him, right?
He loves it. He loves it.
It's a sign of affection. As he shakes his head. Don't leave. Don't leave. Don't wait.
He's back
Don't
on
click the close
Windows 8
button.
anyway. So he's back on Peppermint 8.
He's back on Peppermint 8. I've seen that.
Yeah.
And the predictions were right from early in the week. Somebody made some predictions on Telegram, I've seen.
Well, as soon as I heard he'd gone to Windows 8, I said, give it 3 days, he'll be back on the Pet.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he's sitting
How's
there
your
brooding
Pet
now,
going?
deciding what
EB?
to say.
How's your pet going?
Morning, everybody. How are we doing?
Good morning,
Sorry.
EB. How are you? Let's start over.
Actually, complete.
I think everybody's complaining.
EB
of the
look,
heat.
so we better move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Moving on, flat packs. What is
Yes.
it with flat packs? I went to install Discord, so I thought, okay, hang on, flat packs on the Debian always seem to sort of like muck up a little bit, and when they change flat packs, it's really awkward to get it to work again. So I thought, I know, GNOME software, Discord, here we go, flat pack. Hey, what? 750 meg. Hang on a minute. Goes over to the Debian site, looks up flat pack, 54 meg.
No, but
Okay,
it's
maybe it's got to
advanced
pull down.
technology, Zeb.
Maybe it's got to pull down a load of dependencies. So I went install, and it said Flatpaks will use a further 1.9 gigabyte. I'm thinking, what? You want 2.5 gigabytes to install? What? Bye.
That's
That's it.
unacceptable.
Gone.
And this was just installing the repositories.
This was GNOME software within Peppermint now
Oh.
has support for Flatpaks and snaps.
Right.
So I was just literally trying to install Discord. Now I hadn't installed
Just-
any other Flatpaks.
Okay, I missed that part. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So whether first time round it had to bring down a load of dependencies, I don't know. But really, 1.9 gig of dependencies for Flatpaks? No thanks.
Well, that's why I said they misspelled it and they put the L in front of the F. And
Yeah.
Yeah, fat packs. He's right. But so what I'm going to have to do is an experiment and install Discord, and then find another application to see whether or not it goes down to a more sensible, 80, 100 megabytes. But 2.5 gig to install Discord was just ridiculous. Does anybody else experience that?
I didn't experience that in Flatpaks. I experienced that, but not installing it. But I experienced that with snaps, installing Discord. And every time it would update, it would keep a couple versions back. So I think there was like 4 or 5 gigabytes worth of stuff in my snap folder because of it keeping all of these versions. And I was like, wow. I mean, I guess you can get rid of them, but
yeah, you were saying something about your hard drive space was disappearing. And
Yeah.
you didn't know why, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yep.
Is it just I'm wondering if it's just the Discord one that's doing that, whether that's got so much more involved with it than other flat packs. I don't know.
I mean, I've seen
Yeah,
other
well,
snaps and flat packs take up a huge amount of space as well. I mean, all of them consistently take up more than they should.
Well, let's do another one live on stream. Give me a name of a software that's a flat pack.
GIMP. Try GIMP.
Yeah.
GIMP's definitely one. Yep.
It's already installed, so I don't know if you
LibreOffice.
can install it again.
Yeah, but you can still install it, the Flatpak.
Can
You
you?
can install
Okay.
Telegram flat pack. Telegram's got a
I've
flat
got
pack.
Telegram as well.
Okay.
And this is saying the source is Ubuntu Studio. I don't know.
Is that connected to the flat hub?
Probably.
So
that'd
you
be a
could
better way
probably
to do it,
download
right?
like elementary OS code.
Speaking of elementary,
Yeah.
that beta is awesome. Just saying.
What beta? Which one?
Juno.
Now,
Hello.
We're not allowed to talk. We're not allowed to do anything with that. Are
Why
we?
not?
No, not allowed. It should
Why not?
be, that thing should be called alpha release for testers. That's what it should be called. Alpha
Yeah.
You're
release,
not allowed to do any videos on it.
and then the testers can do what they want with it, put their software in the software store, and then they can bring out a beta that we can actually look at and we can show them that we're proud to make a video about it.
Well, like I said, I mean, or I should say, like they said.
Colin.
Yeah.
I think he froze.
Yeah.
You froze, Matt. What'd you say?
I was gonna say, Colin. Yeah, it's a beta 1.
Yeah, but like he said, people are gonna they no matter what they say, people are gonna do it anyway. I've seen a couple of videos already on the beta preview thing. So
No, that's not a preview. It was a look. It's just wasn't a preview.
it was, yeah. People were getting very creative on how they say this is really not a distro review, but it is a distro review type thing. So
We're releasing this, but don't use it yet.
yeah, well, I mean, they almost have to release a beta.
I know.
I mean, if
No,
they want,
do. I understand the reasoning behind it.
it's just a shame because people don't actually follow the warnings of it, because people are going to put it on and they're going to say, oh, this is ridiculous, this is stupid, this ain't working. I mean, I had a few issues with it, but it's a beta, for crying out loud, so I'm not going to go flipping out about it. They'll fix it.
No.
By the time it comes out, it'll be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It's pretty good now. I mean, I'm running it on one of my other drives, and it just works really, really nice. I hope they're going to change the default wallpaper before it goes live.
Yes, absolutely.
Really? Have you
What's
seen
wrong
this
with it,
thing?
Deb?
That's how they mark their betas.
Gorgeous, mate. It's
43
gorgeous.
inches of purple. Now, I'm sure Michael would call it something completely different.
Maybe
but, hey,
maybe your color on your monitor's off. Is that?
No, trust me, this is, and no matter which monitor I put it on, that purple is, wow.
Hey,
Larry.
Zeb, have you noticed that it's a lot faster?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's
It, very, very
really
snappy.
snappy.
So can somebody tell me, does it pick up your printers now?
Yes.
It does.
It does.
It picked up my
Okay.
printer, yeah.
No
And
problem
mine's
at
a
all.
network printer as well. So-
Speaking
Nice.
of purple, Alan, you
Nice.
shop at the same closet I do.
Yeah, both got the purple on.
Yeah, but elementary is like awesome, okay? And they've made so many little touches that make it awesome. But I did have NVIDIA problems with it. I did have
Really?
like quite a few graphics resets, probably I would say 4 or 5 at least in the 2 hours that I was running it. And that was kind of frustrating, but like I said, it is a beta. So
When you say
you're gonna expect
graphic
that.
resets, what do you mean in that regard?
I mean like the title bars went away.
Oh,
And
okay.
It said that it had I forget exactly how it worded it, but it had an issue with the graphics.
And did you just use the NVIDIA drivers that came with it? Which I think is $3.99.
What I used the NVIDIA I used the NVIDIA drivers that you can install through the App Center.
Mm-hmm.
So
What
Yeah,
drivers
that's
were they?
chicken.
Well, howdy, partner.
Oh, Lord.
All the comments I could make right now.
Well, see, Joe in chat said that he's running an NVIDIA 1060 and he does have the elementary beta installed and he didn't have any issues, and that's great. So maybe it's just my hardware. Who knows? But
What driver is it, Rocco?
jeez,
96.
Colin, I've installed probably 5 different distros in the last 2 days, so I don't remember exactly.
Okay. All right. So what? You've become contagious again, have you? Or what's
I don't know what do you mean? I don't understand what you mean.
Sweet.
Yeah, we are excited about them detecting the printers, Anna, because that's something that it had trouble with before. That's something that a lot of distros had trouble with before.
That's right. It
1804.
did not detect my online printer whatsoever when I was using elementary. What is it? 0.4 or 0.4.
Loki.
Loki. Yep.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, I've given up with printers and Linux. I just attach it to my Windows laptop and do my printing. I mean, I've got a little really stupidly cheap $40 laser printer.
Zeb, you know what show this is?
I do. Yeah. But Linux has limitations. You've only got to watch English.
Well, I'll tell you what, Zeb.
EB, can you weigh in on this? Can you weigh in on this, please?
Limitations. Let me tell you about limitations.
Family friendly, EB.
We've flipped the switch. Here he comes.
I was going to say, Rocco, and you're worried about me.
Just on a lighter note, gentlemen, this week, I can't wait to see Sergey. I see Gentoo got hacked.
Yeah. That was only their mirrored site, though.
Why did you do that?
It wasn't them. It was the GitHub mirrors.
That's very true. It was the GitHub, but it's still worrying that one of the most aloof, elite, slickest operating systems is hackable. And I think it brings it home, especially for the smaller distros.
Yeah, but does GitHub run Gentoo?
I've no idea. But the fact of the matter is, the guy got access to the Gentoo ISOs, didn't he? He didn't modify anything. But all I'm saying is, if you use a smaller distro, whatever you want to call it, we all saw that's Mint been hacked, the Ubuntu forums hacked, KDE Neon got hacked, Gentoo hacked. Are the hackers starting to show a little bit of interest in the Linux world? Is that really is the other side of the coin? It's actually great news for Linux. Just a thought.
I'd say.
And another thought, EB, I haven't seen Serge since you offered him a challenge.
Funny that. Yeah, funny that. Is it the Barry McGuigan in chat and then you don't see him for a month? Yeah, funny that.
Did you send them over to Rocco's, Toss's trunk?
No, I've not tried. I think Toss's caddy trunk was open at the time.
I'll tell you what, sorry, who was that?
No, Rocco would take care of you with a sniper in the back.
I might. I can do that. Long range.
Yeah.
We don't need to get close.
Yeah.
I was actually doing some scanning last night, and I needed to show a sister-in-law how to scan something just in case she needed to do it. I logged into Windows, and I opened. This is Windows 10, by the way. I opened the fax and what was it, the printer and scanner thing. It looked like 1995. It was terrible. It looked like a Snap app. I kid you not, and I don't know what part of Windows that's meant to be, but it was. And then I showed her scanning in Linux. She goes, "Oh, that was easy, wasn't it?" And that was on Peppermint. So scanning in Peppermint was so much easier than scanning in Windows. The hoops you got to jump through just to find the scanner. It's ridiculous.
Well, typically the way Linux or the way Windows does it is it kind of like exposes the scanning properties to whatever applications want to use it. So if you want to create an image from a scan, you can find it like within any image editing application. Right. So you could find it in like paint.net or something like that. And it's in there in like the integrated settings. But if you want to do it like individually, there are some apps for it, but because Windows focuses more on like doing things through the apps, it's not going to be a similar experience.
Right. So it doesn't come with its own like native app to do it.
No, it lets whatever you're trying, whatever tool you want to use it with, kind of handle that.
That's just ridiculous. I mean, have they gone backwards? Seriously?
I mean, technically, we do the same thing. We have a separate app just for it that isn't even always installed. So, I mean,
I haven't scanned something for a very long time, and I was surprised that there was such a job in Windows to just do a simple scan. And
it can print just fine, though.
But I tell you what, that just brings it home. That's why I'm running Linux, isn't it? Because it's so much easier to do certain things.
Yeah.
I have to become used to it.
I have to say, Colin, I was chatting with Zeb the other day, and when I had my little wobbly in the week about, and on come the wind blows 7, and it was it was beautiful and slick, and I thought lovely. But you instantly feel naked after using Linux for such a long while. in that you go on your web browser and you
Yep.
click on a web page and you start seeing things flashing on the screen. And Zeb said, you got to be a bit careful with the drive-by, malware, isn't it? And you get all about that in Linux, and you're so exposed on Windows. One wrong click, bang, you've got a bit of malware on your PC.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like you said, if you're not watching what's happening, you go onto a particular website, you miss that minuscule little flash in the background where a page opens up and then disappears again, and it's now working in the background. You can't see it's open, and it's downloading all sorts of weird and wonderful payloads. Then could that be the testament to the sites you're going to, Steve?
Yeah, it could well be. Well, you did recommend that one for me. What was it? Branded? I'm not sure of what it was, but anyway. Yeah, no, and I'll give you classic examples, Zeb. Some of the sites I'm going to, a lot of the truck simulator mod websites are awash with malware. But because you're on Linux, it doesn't matter to you. It really doesn't matter what you click on. It's irrelevant. And half the stuff doesn't work. The minute you're back on Windows, everything is live, fair game, and you're 100% exposed. Spend a day and a half setting up your Windows 7, one wrong click, there's another 4 or 5 hours of sorting stuff out you didn't need to. So I just wanted to raise that point. I think it's something that a lot of Linux users just utterly take for granted. I know for a fact I certainly do.
Maybe the challenge.
Do you ever run the extension? Do you ever run the extension Web of Trust in the browsers?
No, I was running 2 extensions, Joe, but I tell you what happened. I was running Google Chrome with 2 HTTPS everywhere, I think, and something else. The trouble is that Google Chrome kept crashing. In there, it would just come up and say, snap, sorry.
Yes.
And you just think, I've got no hair. I can't pull anything out here. Will you just damn work?
Right.
And all these little nuances you conveniently forget when you're on Linux, because it just runs. It's fabulous.
Well, I would say no matter what you're on, what Web of Trust is basically users like yourself, anybody who visits a site, who rates it. Now, that being said, I have seen experiences where there's a site that I know is good. As an example, there's a local newspaper here. People just maybe in droves don't like it, and they've given it bad ratings, so it'll pop up as bad rating. So you use your judgment if you want to go into it. The scary part about it is that all of a sudden you get this flash of a window that pops up, and it looks like malware. It says warning, but it tells you, do you really want to go here? Get me out of here or go in. And the way it rates it is there's a little circle up in the corner, and if it's green, it's good. If it's yellow, it's questionable. If it's red, goodbye, but and a lot of times too in Google, even your email, it'll have them next to it if there's images. So it gives you at least a little bit of a step to decide, should I go there or shouldn't I? Is it that important to me to go in there? And that is also something that helps. And even in Linux, it's kind of kept me from going to a couple of places that you click on an image for something you're looking up, and then all of a sudden it takes you somewhere you don't expect, and boom, you're out of there. So it saves you from taking something on you shouldn't.
Yeah. Like you said though, Joe, the only thing I don't like about that is it is based upon user ratings.
Right.
So you can get a lot of sites that are perfectly good, and yet they're marked as red because some people don't really know what it is that they're going for. And this happens to a lot of the download sites. They'll go to a site to download a particular application, and they can't differentiate between what's the download and what's an advert. They'll check the advert, which is not the website's fault, and maybe it is their fault for running it, but then they'll have to go and download something completely nefarious. They then go back to Web of Trust and go, cnet.com is dangerous.
But the only thing I can say about that is at least it's a line of protection. I haven't found anything that's any better right now that gives you a little bit of a line of protection. That's why I say you have to kind of use your own judgment, but at least it puts that wall between you before you make the wrong move,
Yeah. But
you can research the site yourself, like you said,
But the fact that you have to think about that when you're running Windows is another, tick in the box not to run Windows. So I know this one's going to last about 30 seconds. Maybe next week's challenge is we all spend 24 hours on Windows.
What? No.
It is amazing how much you do forget on the Linux. It really is. And it's not until you go back to Windows that you suddenly think, that's interesting. Didn't have to worry about that before.
But there's pros and cons to all that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, when you first went back, EB, you were saying about that you can do this and you can do this and it just works. And there are pros and cons to it. So there are things that work easier on Windows.
Yeah.
Mostly in the gaming world, but a lot of things are. Well, I won't say a lot of things. There are some things that are easier to do, and maybe we have to work on that in Linux. But there are so many things, like you said, that you forget that.
Yep.
Like I haven't been running Windows like as a system for a long time, and you forget half the things that you actually got to go through to install stuff. And
you really do an antivirus, and then you need to hit Man Pro or your malware bytes, and you just forget, and that all sucks your valuable time. And it's just so interesting. It's really interesting to go back to Windows 7 for 24 hours. And I think the immediate thought when you first load it up is, oh, wow, fantastic. I've got inclusion to everything. Oh, yeah, you've got inclusion to everything. You've got your Adobe, you've got all your games, you've got your malware, you've got your viruses, knock yourself out. So it is a balance, isn't it? You can't have it all.
Yeah.
Nope. True. But overall, Linux wins out, period, the end.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rocco. And that's why I'm back on the Peppermint 8. Absolutely.
Yep.
Can I ask you, EB, what was the initial problem with your Peppermint 9? Was it update? Somebody said it was an update or something?
Yeah, no, it's exactly the same as I had with Calculate and with another distro.
Oh.
It's nothing to do with Peppermint. It's something to do with the 1804 base and NVIDIA drivers.
Right.
Now, if I put Peppermint on my secondary PC running the Intel drivers, she is sweet as a nut. You know, she's beautiful. The whole of last week, it doesn't matter what distro I put on, apart from Peppermint 8, I'm just having a nightmare. And I just wonder if there's a major issue at the moment with NVIDIA, because whether I use the 390, the 392, the 396 drivers, I just have a nightmare. And I had some kernel header updates come down on Pep 9. It just balked it, black screen. Now I could have fixed it if I want. It's not. But it's nothing to do with Peppermint. I think it's some kind of issue with the 1804 base. But I am aware not everybody has this issue. So it seems to be quite... Maybe it's just for specific cards. But as you know, I've got a GTX 960 and I've got a GTX 750 Ti. And it's the same on both cards. It doesn't matter which card you put in. Put certain drivers in, bang, blank screen. And it just frustrates the hell out.
See, I'm on the 760 still, and I've got the 390.48 kernel, NVIDIA driver in here, and it's fine. It's been running good.
Yeah, and that's great, Joe. That's great.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I tracked my problems down to the 415 kernel. The stock Ubuntu is on 415.20 or something, and it slowly upgrades. And when it jumped from .23 to .24, that's when my desktop wouldn't appear unless I did a Control-Alt F2 and then a Control-Alt F7. As soon as I went back to the 415.23, everything was tickety-boo. So I'm sticking with that one now until .25 comes out and see if that has the same problem.
Right.
417, I don't get the problem.
The one thing I want to ask you guys, especially you, Steve or Zab, where Peppermint's concerned, the one thing that I don't care for right out of the box when you install it is everything is checked for the updates. And I usually will take off anything that's going to cause potential harm. I want to be able to decide what goes in there. To me, if you're going to do it by colors, so most people understand by colors, I get rid of the reds and the oranges.
Okay, so go to the Peppermint website, check, do a forum search, because I can't remember the exact URL for it, and Mark Greaves, the developer, tells you 100% exactly why he has everything checked by default. We use the Mint install. Mint's old method of going 1, 2, 3, you decide on 4 and 5 is absolute nonsense. Why would you not want to take a kernel upgrade? Because of security bits and pieces. Every time when we was going through the recent kernel panic things where I can't remember the name of it. Had someone help me out with those two things that killed Intel.
Spectre and Meltdown.
Yeah, Spectre and Meltdown. every time there was an upgrade to the kernel, Mint had to put something special on their website to say, and please install this, people. It's really, really important.
Well, I get that. Maybe that's the one part of me still having that green edge. But when you're looking at the check boxes or the ticks, and it sits there and it tells you, I could potentially, crash your system or hurt you. And the only reason why I think, and it's funny you mentioned Mint, because the only reason I think I get buggy with that, and I was wondering if I was making a mistake, because I do watch the security updates. I'll make sure I manually install them. Is I started updating the kernel in there, and Mint can't handle it, because as soon as I hit the wrong one it didn't like, it's crashed it.
But if you notice now, Mint has changed it, and they don't have the colors anymore.
Right.
And they don't have the colors anymore because the colors were nonsense.
Right.
But go and read the Peppermint post, and Mark tells you exactly why we install every single upgrade that comes out. Because if it goes wrong, you can always go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can. It took me 20 seconds to go back to the 0.23 release rather than
for
the
the
2.
large majority. I mean, considering a lot of it is happening on the back end with Ubuntu, they have a really, really solid team working on this and like a huge knowledge base. So like, there's obviously going to be some times where things just don't pan out, but for the large majority of systems, updates, and people, it's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, it also comes down to your hardware, because EB was saying about his NVIDIA issues, and just for an example, I was saying about elementary graphics resets, and I got a 1080, and yet Joe in the chat has run elementary with a 1060, I think he said, with no issues.
Yep.
So it all depends on what hardware is installed, and it's not even, it's so technical or rooted down that it's not just a 1080 or a 1060. It could be a 1080 with my motherboard or with my processor, and issues with that. So it's really, really hard to nail down.
I'd just like to. I don't know if you're all aware. I'd just like to offer the massive Big Zebedee boss a little bit of congratulations. This week, the gentleman on the Peppermint forums has been promoted to moderator, and I don't think it can happen to a nicer guy. So congratulations, Zebedee boss.
Well done, Zeb.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats, man.
He helps many people in the background. Don't make a big deal about it. I just think it's wonderful. So well done, you guys. Anyway.
Well done, PZ. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And,
hey, he's been producer Zeb for a while now, and we wouldn't be nothing without his help. So
I have to say though, Rocco. I have to say though, Rocco. Apparently, after doing a bit of digging, he did offer to make a donation to the Peppermint team of an well-used ships funnel. So I don't know if that had something to do with it.
Yeah. And here I was trying to hide it behind my shirt tonight.
Yeah. Can't hide it in here, brother. Well,
it's funny that we're all talking about Peppermint, and Zeb, this totally isn't trying to butter you up or anything, but I've actually been running Peppermint on my main laptop for about, how long was it, Zeb, that you we were chatting about it? About a week now, maybe?
At least that, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been running on there since then, and it's been sweet.
And is this the one with the high DPI problems?
It is, actually.
So did you find a cure for those, or do you still have to put up with that inconsistency?
I went ahead and I finally backed down and lowered my resolution.
Oh, man.
But no, it's running really, really smooth.
So you're running a standard 1080 now, are you?
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Performance is great. I mean, just nothing to complain about, honestly.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
I've been running it all week as well, Chicken, and it's, I have to say, it's quite nice. And actually,
feels good.
It does.
Have you got room on there though to put Juno? Because have they cured the HIDPI problems?
Yeah, actually, Elementary's had they've had basic high DPI support in Loki, so it even works with the current stable release. But they've got some really cool stuff like thrown into to Juno that makes it like flawless. Like when I pop it on, it's immediately it's not only high DPI on the desktop but on the login screen, and even before that, like the text is properly sized before you even get to that point. So it's
Nice.
Chicken, can I just ask you, because I've not really tried it yet. I've stuck it in a virtual box very quickly and done very little with it. Is it still as locked down as ever?
Actually, there's been a few things that kind of uncage it. I don't know how else to say that. It's gotten some improvements in terms of like keybind support, so you can kind of remap your keys, your hotkeys, your super button, because I know that annoyed a lot of people. It's got quite a few changes in there, actually. One of the big things was performance improvements, though.
But for your previous video, EB, yes, you still have to go through those 8 or 9 steps to get access to PPAs to be able to do the generic things that you would do.
What I was trying to get at is Elementary still following their kind of model. I don't know what you'd call it, but they kind of want to model where they present an OS to a user and they say, there it is. Now just use it.
Yeah, it's their design ethos.
It's still along those lines, yeah.
And more power to their elbow, because it works for them. You know, the average Linux user will come. You can put them on Elementary and they'll just use it.
Yeah,
they don't need to know how to add a PPA. They don't need to know how to do the other thing. You know, you can't even install a deb file. You have to open it up and install Debian and all the rest of it.
That's one thing that I really like.
Well, you can. They do have something installed for the. Don't they have Eddie installed?
I don't believe so.
What's Eddie?
Eddie is another. It's like a GDebi thing.
Oh, is that right? No, I haven't heard of that one before.
I recall it being installed. Hold on.
Maybe I'm wrong.
App Center, so it's an available thing. It's but yeah. That's one thing I really did like about it, though, because despite it having that, which does seem like a limitation at times, like their App Center community is growing quite massively. I mean, there's a lot of cool tools coming out for native.
I have to say, I am quietly impressed with Elementary, and I'll tell you why. Not only is it amazing, terrific, and all the rest of it, but I wonder if all those students who started out developing are still students. I wonder how many of them are mid-20-somethings now with wives and children. Do you know what I mean? So I think that bodes well for any distro. I think it's cool. So at least it is continuing to be developed.
What is their main target audience? Is it people from Windows, or because I mean it's a really different working paradigm as opposed to what Windows is. Because you can't change the top bar or the menu. It's all up the top, which is completely opposite to Windows. So I just wonder whether
a lot of people would be inclined to say Mac OS, but that is also not correct.
Right.
There's actually. There's a lot of differences between both it and Windows and it and Mac OS. I think for the most part, the general approach is just to be an alternative that presents consistency, and it presents simplicity and usability for just about everyone. So
from talking to Daniel Foray, his idea is to target everybody, but not so much target them with familiarity, but to target them with something that just works.
Target them with an iron fist.
I disagree with you all. I'd say it's firmly and squarely aimed at the younger, hot happening person. Because for me, Elementary is young, it's fresh, it's dynamic, it's different. And I think a lot of people do say about the Mac OS thing, but personally, I think it's just purely aimed at the studenty. Not just student, but do you know what I mean? The younger generation who wants a little bit more flash. Perhaps they don't have, $2,000 in the back pocket to go and buy a MacBook. So they get a Mac-esque type experience, but they get this wonderful new, fresh dynamic. And when they're with the friends or the colleagues or whatever, oh, what's that on your laptop? Or what's that on your desktop? Yeah, I'm running that. And I think that's the audience that they've gone for. I just think it's also accidentally appeal to a much broader audience than what they probably anticipated at its inception.
Well, they are younger guys creating it, so I think that's more of what they like rather than maybe what they're targeting. But that's what they think looks nice. That's what they think is appealing to an operating system. So yeah, I'm sure it's appealing to that generation.
I mean, if you was to install, if you was to say, okay, family members and that, I'm trying to get family members onto Linux. It's not easy, but I mean, if you was to give them, say, Linux Mint or Elementary, which one do you think they would probably go for? Especially if it's Cinnamon.
It depends
And
on
it
what they're
makes them-
familiar with and what they're willing to
Yeah.
to
I mean,
work
I've never
with
tried.
to use their PC.
I think
I've
for
never
me, more importantly, it depends what it is they do in the first place on Windows.
Mm.
No, if they're doing a bit of email and internet, then fill your boots. You can give them anything
Yeah.
you like.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think I said this before, and it's not a pun, but I think in an elementary type school environment, and it's coincidentally his name, elementary. I think for a kid who's just coming in, getting familiar with a computer, wants something fairly clean, simple to use, whatever, that it's perfect, and that's the thing, is it has its own place. There's so many other distros. We don't want to eventually make them all meld into one. We'd like to see one or two, but that's never going to happen. So why try to make every one of them look the same or work the same? Because we like to customize, it's not going to work for what we want to do. But for
The only
somebody,
thing is, it is a bit of a contradiction, though, Joe. Because if you're a younger person and you think, "Oh, great, I'll have Elementary," yeah, good luck trying to run Fortnite on Elementary.
Right.
well, yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about within a school environment. I'm talking about using it within school, because they're using a lot of Surface tablets and stuff like that in schools now. So if you're using that for your school environment only, I think it's a perfect application.
Oh, yeah.
I can say it does work very well on the Microsoft Surface Studio.
Wow.
From experience, you can say that.
Mhm.
Yes. I wouldn't pay $5,000 for a machine like that, but it does work very well.
But as someone pointed out in chat, what's an interesting choice is their browser. Anselm has said, why have they chosen the single worst browser out
Is it
there?
Epiphany still, Zab?
Epiphany, yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh, it used to be Midori, or was that somebody else?
They're
No, it's
very
not
similar.
They're very similar, are
It's
they? Those
GNOME
two.
Web, more or less.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's the GNOME
So
Web.
they
browser.
call theirs Epiphany, but they're all based off of GNOME Web, is
because
it?
they've had an epiphany.
Yeah.
Elementary.
New browser.
Unless
Understand if
they've done
Epiphany was getting better, but it's not.
Well, maybe they've done extensive testing, and maybe they do or know something that we don't bother
There
doing.
are some improvements. There was this big issue where a lot of times when you would go to type in things and you would press like the shift key, like your keyboard would just stop working in the website. Like you just couldn't actually type at all. That hasn't been happening recently, so I'm sure they fixed that, unless I've just gotten lucky not to experience.
Well, that's a fairly important feature in a browser. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
keyboard's pretty important, not gonna lie. But I think one of the things that it kind of goes to is that it does offer that kind of consistency between the rest of the UI. It's familiar in terms of you still got the address bar, you've got that basic functionality, and while it certainly isn't Firefox or Chrome, I think it's okay as a default. I think it serves it well enough, though I'm pretty sure everybody replaces it.
Yeah, I'm sure probably 99% of the people don't use it. I really don't have a problem with them not installing Firefox or Chrome, because there's so many people that want something different.
Yeah.
I mean, you're never going to, you could have the Firefox Chrome argument forever, and you're never going to win that argument.
It would never be correct unless Chrome was installed.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So, Chicken, you're what I'd call a younger person. You still feel that? Oh, you're welcome. Amongst the younger generations, are keyboards still important in the web browser? Because a lot of the younger people I watch using web browsers now just use OK Google. They don't even type.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot too, but then I have to talk to someone.
but I'm talking about younger generations. They're texting. Talking's not an issue, is it?
Right?
It even confuses me. I don't understand it.
I mean, you're right there, but you don't even have to be the younger generation. I mean, because my son is 30 and he uses OK Google all the time. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? Just type it in. And he's like, why bother typing? I can say it quicker.
Yeah, absolutely, Zeb. You can't fault them. You really can't.
So you'd have to think that Elementary use Epiphany because, like you say, it's their UI design and consistency, which Chicken talks about. So if you do install Firefox or Chrome, you do that with your own choice. So if it doesn't integrate with the system as far as the look consistency is concerned, then that's your choice to put it in there, isn't it? And maybe those other browsers are too hard for them to make consistent with the UI.
I was going to say, can't you theme Firefox?
Yeah, it's not that hard to get it to kind of work in some cases, but there are still a lot of other aspects to it. And that's, I mean, the controls themselves, like where menus are placed and how they're placed and what kind of dictates what they can and can't do. I mean, those are all completely different from the rest of the apps in the entire ecosystem on Elementary. But I have found that by default, like Chrome doesn't look too far off. And I think some of it does have to do with it's just the colors are kind of similar by default, and it's got some of the roundedness. But
True.
Firefox being more cuboid, having a little more, especially after Quantum and everything, it does stick out a little bit more.
Firefox to me is a pain. I honestly, I hate to say that, but I don't like the fields. I know you could retheme it and all this other stuff, but even the settings to have it maintain, if I want to have like even in Chrome with the monitors, I might bring them up to 110 or 125 zoom, and I want it locked at that. You can't do that in Firefox. There's so many different things right now that it still doesn't do that. Gets under my skin. Otherwise, I would love to use that over Chrome. And the only thing I'm using Chrome for now typically is when I'm on the live feeds to watch or whatever. But otherwise, I use Chromium the brunt of the time.
Well, I found out why Peppermint went back to Firefox, and it's because there's no 32-bit Chrome support.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Yes,
we got the
that makes
32-bit
sense.
ISO.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes sense. Well,
Perfect
fair
sense.
enough.
Yeah.
You mean it wouldn't make sense to put Chrome on the 32-bit on the 64-bit and put Firefox on the 32-bit now?
I'll tell you what.
Makes sense.
I'll tell you what I've noticed in Firefox is when I'm on YouTube, when I open up YouTube, and before I go to my subs, you've got your YouTube icon in the top right-hand corner. Now, on some occasions, I click on that; it doesn't do anything until you go to your subs, and then it does. So, I don't know. Either something's changed or it's a Firefox thing. I don't really know.
I've noticed it on multiple sites, actually. Just activating things in general sometimes doesn't work. Typically, things that aren't necessarily static, like buttons, things that are kind of tied into other functions on a page.
Right. So there's a bit of a change that's happened. Some sort of change has happened there, is it? I would say.
Yeah.
I know YouTube's been changing quite a few things of recent anyway. There's a few
it's like
things
occasionally you'll be scrolling and then like your scroll wheel won't work. Like you have to click again before you can things like that.
I have to say, in YouTube's defense, it's not just YouTube that's a pain in the backside. I've noticed a whole raft of complaints this week about Twitch with its constant buffering all the while.
Yeah, it's been super
so it's not
rough.
just the YouTube.
I struggled when Zeb was on Twitch, and also when what's his name? Pseudo. Yeah, I just couldn't watch him. It was just it was just too much. It was driving me crazy, just the buffering. So
that's why I moved to Mixer, and I'm taking you all with me.
Well, wait, before we go any further, everybody welcome Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, guys.
Steve.
How you doing?
My audio working?
Yes.
It is.
Perfectly.
It is.
Welcome to Biddle.
Thanks. Long time lurker, first time joiner.
Long time lurker. What do you run, man?
Well, I'm trying to run this on Bunsen Labs on a pretty old laptop.
Nice.
And how are you finding it?
Oh, okay. It's a little laggy, but that could be my wireless too.
Cool.
And on the browser front, are you a Chrome or Firefox person?
They installed
the banhammer's ready.
Firefox. What is it? ESR, the old
52.
Right. Okay.
Because it's built on Debian Stable.
Mm-hmm. And do they keep that updated with security patches and stuff, the ESR?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I've never tried that. Because the single reason I hate Firefox is when you're on channels like this, you have to click on the chat and then click in the chat box to say something. If I then go off and do something with my download manager or any other window, I go back to chat and it's not working until I click on the chat itself and then go and click in my chat window. It loses the focus, and that is so frustrating.
Like, the last time I used Firefox, the chat wasn't even popping up every time I put it as an open window.
What is the ESR for Firefox again? What's that one? It's an extended version.
Extended support release.
Extended support release. So it's an earlier version, is it? Is that right?
It's one that's meant for like organizations and that kind of stuff that need stability in their.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole rest of the world doesn't need stability. Just.
And so is it 52 or 53?
No,
It's 52.9.0.
Right.
Cool.
Now, how does that work if you want to install the ESR? You have to completely uninstall the regular version?
Unless there's a flat pack and you want to waste 3 gig.
Now that's not necessarily true, Zeb. You haven't tried it. Why don't you on the live stream try doing the flat pack for Firefox ESR?
What's that website again? Fathub.com or something? Yeah.
I don't know how that works. I don't know if you need to.
On Debian Stable, you have to install take off ESR if you want to run regular Firefox Quantum.
Right.
So it's probably not something you can run side by side, I would think.
It's interesting because I've just Googled Firefox ESR flat pack, and the very first that comes up is, issue number 15. Okay, so we're not going flat pack ESR if the first Google search is an issue. So let's find it elsewhere.
Well, it should be on the FlatHub website, I would think, if it's anywhere.
Yeah, if you go to Firefox ESR, you can either get Firefox 60 ESR, or you can get Firefox 52 ESR. That's interesting.
So if we go to the GNOME software, it should tell us, shouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In Peppermint.
Does anybody here? I mean, I know Steve is, but is anybody else running the ESR version, or have they run the ESR version?
I've run the ESR version, especially on some older distros. It's perfect for that. But I also really, really like its very little talked about cousin called Pale Moon. Don't know if any of you Pale Moon.
Pale Moon, yep.
Yeah, it's a really nice kind of spin and take on it.
The only problem with Pale Moon is if you are reliant on add-ons, because it's funny, these off browsers of Firefox, these offshoots, like Pale Moon's code, they forked it off of Firefox, and now it's like drifted away so much that it's running such an older version of Firefox that half of the newer add-ons don't work with it because it's too old. And then you got Waterfox, who is kind of staying in line with Firefox, and because they're staying in line with Firefox, they're having to update their code to run with Firefox, and that means that half the add-ons don't work, half of the legacy add-ons don't work with the new code. So you're in a pickle if you rely on a lot of add-ons.
Yeah.
I think last time I seen Waterfox just running Firefox ESR.
I don't know.
I used to enjoy SeaMonkey a lot back in the day. That was a quick little browser as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, the first pain in the neck is it only comes down as a tarball. So,
yeah, it's definitely not a Snap or Flatpak. I can't find it.
So,
No.
EB, you said you ran it. Was there any performance issues compared to, like, obviously put new stuff in 60
ASR?
to increase? Yeah, they put new stuff into 60 to increase the performance. So, do you see that? Actually, do you feel it in 52?
I don't know. I've never run it.
Not hugely, Rocco. To be honest with you, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I do not use Firefox because I have issues with Firefox. It drives me around the twist. It really, really does. And the only reason I use Google Chrome, I'll be totally honest, is because I do quite a bit of Netflixing, and it just works. I don't have to, and yes, I can download Wild Vine and Black Vine and Green Vine and all these stupid little add-ons that supposedly work, and then you click on your Netflix and you go, oh, sorry, you're not using the supported brand. You just, oh, really? I just want to watch a show, really? So that's the only reason I use, by and large, Google Chrome. But the only trouble with Firefox is there's so many different iterations, forks, and you just think, why? There's so many of them. It just does my head in. So I just tend to give it a wide berth these days. But back in the day, I did used to use SeaMonkey quite a lot, and that was like, just a really fast, nasty little browser that just worked. But then again, I don't use a lot of plugins and extensions. So if you use a lot of plugins and extensions, then I guess that's quite a wall.
I used to use Opera back in the day before they were based off of Chromium.
Opera was awesome back in the day.
Yeah, it was so good.
They were like the leader in innovating things. Like they had the password wand before anybody even thought about.
They even had it on the Nintendo Wii.
I was going to say they did tab browsing before it was a thing.
Yeah, that was absolutely awesome, and then they killed it.
Well, it's still kicking around, but
but it's not even close to what it used to be.
No, it's like when the boxer goes down in a fight and he's just kind of flopping there. It's like that.
Yeah, it's definitely not even close to what it used to be. It's just basically another Chromium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the only thing I ever really use it for is the built-in VPN thing or proxy at times, and that's the only time I use it.
Yep.
Now, of course, if you're a Windows user, you have access to such quality class browsers like Komodo Dragon.
Microsoft Edge.
Too much about
Edge is fine.
Edge is not fine.
Oh.
Edge is not
That's
fine.
debatable.
Every time, okay, so if I'm playing a game or something, I will boot into Windows if it's a Windows game. And there have been times where I had to log in to something for an account, and it has crashed on me probably 50% of the time that I've used Edge.
Oh, that's horrible.
That's bad.
But hey, it's better than Internet Explorer.
Well,
but I have to say, Rocco, in Edge's defense, Edge have really good targeted adverts that you neither want, need, or even will have.
Well, EB, you can say that about the rest of Windows 10.
Well, yeah, that's a great shout, I have to say.
I can't say much for Edge's stability because it is a little rough, but in terms of like their rendering engine, it is really nice.
Wait, I was playing a game the other day, Middle-earth Shadow of War. It's not on Linux yet. And I get done playing this game, and I get a little pop-up at the bottom that says, while you were gone playing a game, here's the emails that came in. I'm like, what?
That's awesome.
No, that's not awesome.
No, I think that's great because it kind of knows, hey, maybe I shouldn't bother you while you're doing something important. And then when you're done,
I'm going to bother you as soon as you're done playing a game.
Yeah, we just had to look around the inside of your computer while you were there.
Yeah, like, wow.
Yeah.
It's really cool. If I go and play Euro Truck or American Truck on Windows, it's great. And then open Edge, 2 or 3 minutes later, because we noticed you've just been playing Euro Truck, you might like these games. And I'm thinking, am I on Steam here?
Yeah, so there's definitely some pros and cons there. I think we could take away some good things from that and leave like the bad things out. Like the ability to detect when important things are happening on the screen and then kind of like not necessarily remove, but like kind of push away things that aren't necessarily important and then kind of bring them forward after that. Like, I think we could really use abilities like that without the kind of targeted advertisements or marketing and stuff like that.
Well, I think that's just a personal decision of whether you like that or not. Like,
well,
I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
That's something that you would want.
Functionality that we could certainly see implemented as an option.
Yeah, like that's for me is not appealing to have that happen. So it's just a personal thing. But having the functionality might not be a bad idea. I don't know.
I mean, because notifications have gotten quite a bit better recently, despite them kind of dying when GNOME did some stuff, and then, but they're back a bit.
Temporarily.
They're working. I don't know what the problem is. They're working.
Well, the good news is Firefox doesn't suffer from losing focus on the chat window. Firefox ESR.
Oh.
Sweet.
Which
So Quantum is worse than we all thought.
It is. It's terrible.
only for that one little feature. I'd be interested. I might try the Firefox 60 ESR because I went to the 52 ESR. So I might try the 60 ESR. But all my extensions have come in now that I've signed into Sync. So that's all working fine.
Hey Zeb, wouldn't the 60 ESR cause the same problem because that would be a quantum build, wouldn't it?
It could well do, yeah. So that's why I might have to test.
When is that? When are they going to update the ESR? Does anybody know?
It's available already. I went to the Firefox ESR website and it was there to choose.
When Debian Stable chooses, that's going to be a different story.
Yeah, so if you just Google for Firefox ESR and then go to mozilla.org ENUS Firefox organizations.
So it is
then you can
60
get
already.
60.
Yep.
So
What's the Debian stable one? Is it Iceweasel?
No, it's Firefox ESR, but it's 52.9.
Sweezel.
I don't think
No, I thought it was Ice. I thought
It used to
Debian.
be.
You know, free.
No, it used to be. That was the whole trademark problem that they had. So basically, it was Iceweasel was just Firefox, just rebranded.
Right.
Such a weird choice.
So listen, you want weird choice, really? Bionic Beaver. Really? You want weird.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, code names and all that. Anyway,
Man, you love it, English, Bob.
Speaking of GNOME, I've been running Ubuntu GNOME since it started, so it's a couple of months now, I think. And the updates come down, and it says the updates have already been downloaded, which never used to do that. And then you click install now, and then the updates install. They don't ask you for a password or anything. So has anybody experienced that?
Yeah, the system's set up to automatically download like updates, but it won't install them until you tell it to.
Yeah,
And
okay.
the reason it doesn't ask you for a password is because like it's not something that the user is doing. Like it's not it's the system doing it. It's not like something has requested to install this package. It's more like this package is available and is already like said to be installed.
Does that paradigm sort of remind you of something? Or
Not really, no.
No. Mm-mm.
not at all.
I think as long as they do it in a responsible way that doesn't kind of force things, it's fine.
Right.
Especially because it does have the option to be turned off, and it actually does turn off, which is kind of important when you have an off button.
Okay, I just sort of thought it was a bit weird because that must be a new thing, obviously, that they've implemented with the latest.
I think I've seen it before, but I do remember it always asking for a password. So I think they've done a bit of work on the back end there.
Okay, all right.
On the bright side, it's not as common where you get the Ubuntu's error report, something has crashed messages.
Well, there was, I guess it was Fedora, right? That has the new feature that does the update and restart where you can't do anything. Like it just is updating. There's no, it's almost like a Windows thing.
Yeah, when you're starting back up, it applies them before you boot in.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
That reminds you of something.
Right.
I think it is kind of strange behavior, and I don't quite recall, but I think that's more tied into actually GNOME software than it is to Fedora itself. It's kind of like a I don't think Package Kit is the right one I'm thinking of, but there's an actual thing that handles things like that. But one thing I do like is that they have the ability to like install firmware packages and stuff like that, which we could honestly use some more of in terms of like hardware support. So there's pros and cons to systems becoming more advanced.
Yeah. I've just noticed in Peppermint, Chicken, I don't know if you've noticed, but did you know you had abilities to search the web and run terminal commands from within the Whisker menu?
Yes, you can search Wikipedia. You can you can do all kinds of things. It's amazing.
It's awesome, isn't it? Yeah. Is that an XFCE thing or?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
you could just use OK Google.
This
You
is
mean
why we
okay,
can't have
DOS
that.
Google?
Well, if anybody finds out a fix for that, for the issue that my dad was having on Peppermint, that would be awesome because he really liked running Peppermint. But that whole Windows thing where the Windows would not go into the center of the monitor, no matter what setting we set it to, they would
All my
just
Windows.
not go.
I
to the
bet I
center.
can fix that right now.
I was going to say, I thought that was a basic setting in the control center place.
Yeah, it is.
It
But
is,
but
yeah.
it wasn't being
Might be.
honored by that setting, Zeb.
Oh,
Like
really?
we set the setting and it would work sometimes, and then half the time it wouldn't.
Does it work in like Ubuntu?
Yes.
Okay, so my guess is like I'm not entirely sure how Peppermint implements like the window manager, but I know that they're using like other components for like settings and stuff like that. It's possible that it's like maybe just not pointing to the right thing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. It's either being overrode,
Overwritten.
over whatever. It's
Overwritten.
being over. It's being done. It's being taken away. Okay, so the settings being you get what I'm saying. By some other setting somewhere that's not checked or not visible, or I don't know what's going on with it. But yeah, that did cross my mind that it wasn't connected somehow.
Well, the window
F9.
manager is XFC for WM or whatever it's called.
XFWM4 or whatever.
So if you go into the settings in XFCE, there's a slider bar that you can slide either all the way to the left or right to say how big the window is. I think, if I remember correctly, how big the window is for it to center.
So I haven't touched any of my settings, but all my windows open smack bang in the center of the screen.
Well, that's what he wants, and that wasn't happening. So
That doesn't happen here.
Well, that's really weird, isn't it? So which settings is that under?
It's in the XFCE window manager settings, I think.
Yeah.
I'm booting up right now.
Rocco, did you do the respin?
Window manager system.
No, but like I said, he wanted to stay on Peppermint, but that was one thing that he couldn't live with.
But you know what? Now, dumb question. Did you try reinstalling it?
Yeah, we did it twice.
Because I know sometimes, and I don't know why, I've had that happen where you'll try something, and it'll take 2 or sometimes 3 installs, and then all of a sudden stuff starts working. And I don't know why that is. Not very often, but it has happened to me.
So right now he's running Ubuntu Mate. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
No, it's not. We're going to get him back on the Pep.
Not if we have any.
He loves Peppermint. He really did.
It's under Peppermint Control Center under Advanced, and by default, place Windows at the center of the screen. That's where it is.
Well, then that's not working.
And that's not working. You're saying you set that on.
We've come to a great conclusion here.
Is it Peppermint 8 or 9 you're talking about, Rocco? It's Peppermint 9?
8, wasn't it?
No, I think it was 8.
Your dad was 8.
I don't think we tried 9.
Give him 9. Maybe it works.
Well, not here it doesn't, because I just opened up Simple Note and it opened up in there.
It doesn't work for you. Wow.
No.
Rocco, just as a simple, before you whipped him onto the Mate, did you pop on the pet forums and post the issue, mate?
I believe this issue was posted before, on the forums.
Okay, fair shout.
And the indication was given at the time, as Rocco said, to change your settings so that the window size is a certain percentage, and that forces it into the middle.
But it doesn't work.
No, but it may work. What I'll have to do is I'll have to take off the other 2 monitors because I think that's messing me about at the moment, and check whether that now works.
Well, I shouldn't say that it doesn't work. It didn't work for him at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah,
it may work now. But
maybe it's working now. Well, it's working on mine, but I've only got single screen on a laptop. So, I mean, I don't know.
But the only problem is, like switching his computer over is, if I switch him over and then it doesn't work, then I'm going to be switching him back. And
I mean, I'm on Peppermint 8, and if I open the terminal window up, it's bang dead center in the middle of the screen.
That's what he wanted.
If
so
I
now open up a file manager, Steve.
File manager's bang dead center in the middle of the screen. It's
Yep,
So
absolutely-
why
that's
is it different for everybody? Like,
I've no idea.
hardware? Must be hardware. It's got to be hardware, isn't it?
I'm assuming he's only got one monitor.
I have only got a single 1080p monitor. Yep.
yeah, he's only got one too.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only got one. Yep. And
And
what
it's
about your
really-
dad? Has he got one or has he got two?
Just one.
Just one. Okay.
It's working for
That's-
me as well here.
Yeah, just for me.
Hey, this
I
is
would
the,
rejoice that you have
this
them
is
on
why Linux is a PITA. Sometimes.
Hey Rocco, if you pay for a ticket, I'll fly out and fix it for you.
Okay. Check your email.
Just
Nah,
like
he-
Simon's got to fix Pulse Audio, right?
he loves Linux and has been running it. He hasn't been on Windows in probably 4 years, 5 years,
That is
Wow.
awesome.
Right.
So-
nice.
That's
Very
terrific,
nice.
Rocco.
and he wouldn't go back.
Mhm.
Why don't you try Live Disk, Rocco? See if a Live Disk works.
I mean, like I said, I know he loves Peppermint, so maybe when I got time, we'll switch him over and see if it's working now.
I've got an idea for you. Try Peppermint 8 Live Disk and see if it's still on the live happens. And if it does, then you know that if you try Peppermint 9 on the live disk and it doesn't happen, then there's a good chance that it won't happen when you install it. That might be one of the ways you could troubleshoot that.
The word there is a good chance.
Yeah, good chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't always
Yes.
work out that way, but
It's
No,
a
not really.
definite.
But,
Yeah.
you know, at least you got some sort of history there.
that's
You're a
right.
bad chance, though.
Has anybody tried the new Manjaro spins?
No.
I mean, I know if you're running Manjaro, you're going to get the updates.
There's
it's
new
like
Manjaro spins?
it's they're just rebuild the ISO. It's just rebuilds
Oh,
of the
right.
ISO.
Is that
But-
recent or?
Yeah, but the new version of KDE is in the new versions of
Oh, sweet.
Manjaro. So it's I guess it's 5.13.2. So I have it downloaded and it's already on a USB waiting for me to install it.
Are you trying to make me extreme distro hop before before destination?
Especially not to an Arch-based distro.
Yeah, twist his arm, Rocco. Twist his arm.
No, because I installed a couple in the last couple days. Linux Mint Cinnamon is on my one hard drive. Ubuntu Studio is on, and what's the other? There's just another one that I installed. And then,
Elementary OS.
oh, Elementary OS, yeah, the beta is on there, and Manjaro's waiting. So yeah.
Just so anybody who may be new watching, which I don't think there is, when Zebedee talks about extreme distro hopping, it's not like most of us when you've got one or two drives that you're messing with. He's got like one of 14. So it's not like he's taking a big risk here and jumping onto something that he's going to break.
No, the risk is I've got destination Linux to do this afternoon.
Yeah, there you go.
You mean tomorrow?
I'll
No,
tell you what is.
afternoon, because
Okay.
it's 10 to 5 in the morning here in the UK.
So I'll tell you what
it's
is
fun
nice.
being on the stream and watching your window get brighter as the
Yeah,
time.
it's becoming daylight outside. Yeah.
Manjaro
believe-
Deepin is nice. I'm running that as well.
I do love their deep in spin. I honestly, as much as I hate to say it, I think they do deep in better than deep in does.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that what I should go for? Come on, guys, pick me a Manjaro to go for.
Deep in. Let's do a challenge. Manjaro deep in. I'm going to put myself deep into this one.
deeper than the studio, I think.
I don't know. I mean, do you really think that Manjaro's is better than?
I
It's
do,
not-
and a lot of it has to do, I think, with the extra steps they've taken. Like deep in terms of the OS, you've got the stock OS, and then you've got the App Store and everything. Which those things are cool, but the performance is kind of poor. They run into a lot of issues with just hardware support issues. There's been
Right.
a lot of that. I don't know. It just
Defaulting to China mirrors every time, even if you tell it to
Yeah, well,
change.
that's true. That's a very
That's
good
another
point you
issue.
raised, Matt. Yep, you don't have the mirror issues. You don't have to worry about the App Store because everyone's concerned that it's got, the analytic.
Yeah. It's
in
just the 14
background.
other things that are inside somewhere that you don't know about.
So besides the App Store, the App Store, did I say App Store? Besides their software store being nice, that's the only thing you're really missing, and everything else looks really nice. So, and you've got fast downloads and stuff. So, and you've
are
got
you guys
access,
saying?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Colin.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Are you saying that Manjaro Deepin is the next challenge?
Well, yep. Why not?
Oh, guys, by the way, for anyone with high DPI monitors, it doesn't automatically scale.
But I've already got it.
Can you change it to scale? I mean, can
yes,
you fix it?
You can go up to 2.
Ooh.
Sorry, I don't really see these challenges as challenges anymore. Why don't you take up a real old-fashioned challenge? Why don't you go and grab yourself an
React OS
USB thumb drive? No. And why don't you go and grab yourself a copy of the latest Fat Dog 64 and run it from an 8 gig USB thumb drive? Because it's almost moving away from Puppy now and getting heavily into Slack. And it's a lovely brick wall challenge. Oh my God, what do we do with this? It's great if you want a challenge, do something different.
We did try that once, and it was with Interrogo, and that ended badly.
That did end badly. That one did.
You'd be quite impressed with Fat Dog. It's just one of them real cool little distros that nobody ever bothers with, and it's really slick, really fast. And as I say, it's so cool to just run it off a USB thumb drive. It's just really cool.
Fat Dog or Flat Dog?
No, Fat Dog. FATDOG 64. Get the latest version. I can't remember what the version, but the latest version of Fat Dog, it really is heavily into Slack. It's Slack based, but it's still fairly intuitive to use. You can run it from an 8 gigabyte USB thumb drive. It does have persistence, so you can save your changes, and it's just a cool little different distro, different way of looking and doing things.
So
you guys see
these 254 ISOs, which one do I choose?
Well, like the newest one.
Fat Dog 64 721.
Yeah, that's the one. That's
from
the
11th of Jan.
Yeah, that's the baby.
I saw recently on DistroWatch, I think it was the version 1 release of this little distro called Aria Linux or something like that, and it's like an LFS based distro. I've been meaning to try that. I thought it looked really cool.
Ibiblio, was that the one? Ibiblio. Is that it?
Biblio, yeah.
I don't know, EB. The last time somebody said, yeah, try this, it's different. Didn't turn out well.
Well, I have to say,
it's a USB drive. You've got no worries about your main computer.
Yeah, that's true. We don't have to worry about that. And I'm already running deep in anyway, Manjaro. So that's a bit ridiculous for me to say do a challenge because I've already got it installed, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're basically challenging the rest of us.
That just means you win.
Oh, I can tell you, I am not doing any more installs this week. Trust me. I'm done. Me and installs are done.
Well,
that's a good challenge because Joe's challenge last week was Ubuntu Studio, and he was already running it. So that's a perfectly good challenge.
Yeah, I don't mind doing the Manjaro Deepin. I actually want to try it out and see.
Okay, all right.
I wanna say, Zeb, I want you to pass this on to yourself and to Mark and to everyone else there at the Peppermint team. Like, super great stuff. Something that really impressed me is that Peppermint actually picks up on some of my display refresh rates that no other distro does. I can run my laptop at 120 hertz, and all of the other ones will only go up to 60.
Well, even Ubuntu, which is running the same manager.
I've tried doing. I couldn't even do it through the terminal on any of them. Peppermint is the only one that actually allowed me to do that.
Wow,
nice.
I wonder what Peppermint's doing different that they caught those refresh rates.
It's really weird because I figure it's just X render, but I don't know.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to have a monitor that runs that, but
well, you know,
if I ever did, that'd be cool.
Ryan has a 144 hertz gaming monitor, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Mine is as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
so tell me, if you get a gaming monitor that supports FreeSync, does it mean it won't work with NVIDIA and only works best with AMD?
It will still work with NVIDIA.
Right. Because I noticed one in the local PC world. They were doing a 24-inch, 144 hertz gaming monitor for like 176.
Yeah, it more or less just means that like the graphics card can very effectively communicate with the monitor in a way that allows it to adjust its performance to not waste resources putting out things that it wouldn't necessarily need to and mathematically. But one thing that any professional gamer will tell you is that it's all a load of crap, because they say you can't actually notice the difference or that it doesn't make a difference, and there's a reason everybody always turns it off even then. So it's great for saving some power, though.
So there's no difference between 60 and 144?
No, there's definitely a difference, but the ideology that it doesn't make a difference if you turn it up is incorrect, or that if you output more than what your screen can display, that it doesn't make a difference, and none of that is actually correct, because it still has an impact between your input to the machine and what you're actually seeing. There's more frames between what's actually being displayed, so it's overall smoother motion no matter what.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's
I'd just like to say a
but
quick congratulations to Terry Love in the chat. Just to let you know, Terry, Rocco has reserved you your own velvet line space in Toss's caddy trunk. So congrats, Terry.
He's been throwing them shots in at me for the last couple minutes, but it's all good. I know. I did probably do something to get all of this hardware. Like, maybe it was just me because I picked it. I mean, I thought I was picking good hardware, but I obviously have all kinds of stuff that doesn't work together or doesn't like it. I don't know why, but I mean, it's decent hardware. It's just things don't like it for some reason.
It's not just you, mate. Look at the woes I've had this week. Really?
Yeah.
So it's not just you at all, buddy.
So if you was buying a new graphics card today, Rocco, would it be a 1080 or would it be a Vega 64?
Okay, so it depends on whether I had the money for a Vega. If I had the money, it would probably be a Vega.
But aren't they the same as the 1080s now?
No, definitely not. No, the Vegas are way expensive.
So enthusiastic with his Vega, it's infectious, isn't it?
But I can get a Vega for $529. Can't get a 1080 much less than 500. So where's the big difference, or is it different in America?
It's different in America. I sent him. I actually sent him that deal that he bought. Like, he bought that from a deal on a site that I sent him, and that was the cheapest you would find it anywhere. And I can't remember exactly how much he paid for it.
Vegas 64 locally here, the lowest I found it is 680.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I'm looking at one now.
I thought he was in the sixes when he bought his. So.
I was going to say,
you had four something, didn't you? Last time we talked about like 498 or something, Zeb.
If you go on the Amazon.co.uk, I'm looking at a Power Color 8GB Radeon RX Vega 64 for $529.99, down from $678.
That's a pretty big drop.
That's a massive drop. But then all of the other Vegas that it's listing, there's a stupid one there for $758, and then it goes $578.
Well, we're all going to see a drop in prices soon, because the next NVIDIA series is actually coming out around sometime this fall, and it's going to be competing with AMD's Navi architecture, which will presumably come out just after that, unless they start pushing things.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see a drop in current technology, but that also means that it's more enticing for people to buy them for the wrong reasons. And I hate to be the person that says there's a wrong reason to buy hardware, but when it does something like this to the market, it is absolutely atrocious.
Yeah,
all of the Vega 64s on Amazon right now are between $700 and $900, except one. That is regularly $799 for $599 right now.
Oh boy, you're scaring me.
Well, I'm looking at one that's $589.
I was gonna say I'm looking at XFX 64, and it's $545.
It makes me wonder what's wrong with this Power Color 8 one then, that it's only £530.
But are you looking at an 8 gig, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
But I
always the
also
question.
think that Amazon gives different prices to different people in different areas
They do.
as well.
Touche.
So
Well, Rocco, you got no excuse when it comes to the ones I'm looking at.
Well,
Still
graphics
the
cards
Northeast,
are
buddy.
super
You're
expensive.
talking 64s now, right? Vega
Yeah.
64?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, because the 56 is 519.
but see, to me, that's like ridiculous to pay
Still a
that.
lot. Yeah, especially
Still
new
a
stuff
lot.
right around the corner.
If you
So
VPN up and select your DNS server as North Korea and do the same search, it's
Yeah,
two
it's-
camels, a horse, and a visit to Kim Jong Un to have tea.
Oh my gosh.
But that's
Always.
interesting because Anselm in chat says that the 1070 Ti is better than a Vega 64.
In
But-
some workloads.
I was going to say, isn't that totally against what Forenix come up with?
Yeah, it depends on A, what you're doing with it, B, other situational circumstances like your OS, what your OS is doing. Benchmarks are, as much as they like to appear as
Gospel.
good guidelines, that benchmarks are ridiculously dumb. They
So is it a bit like lies, damn lies, and statistics?
pretty much.
Yeah.
You won't find that it's accurate in every case, and you also won't find that it's inaccurate in every case.
but
For
also
the
you got to
most
look at
part.
the it's not just performance either. It's NVIDIA versus AMD as far as issues and problems with
Support.
drivers,
Yep,
support.
absolutely.
So even if the set 1170 or the 1070 Ti,
The 1170.
well, they were actually doing a video on the 1180, I think it was. It was like a spoof video or whatever. But anyway, it's not just the performance; it's issues that you're going to have, and does that outweigh? Even if that could outperform the AMD 64 or the Vega 64, it ain't. Is it worth it with the issues you might have?
And there's other things like between DirectX frameworks or Vulkan frameworks, things like that. Like AMD absolutely crushes it with Vulkan. So if you can get games that support that, it's absolutely going to crush out something like a 1070 Ti and be more on par with the 1080.
I'm even wondering, actually, do I need a new graphics card or do I need to put in a proper size power supply so that my current graphics card can perform properly? Because I've only got a
scary
450.
thought.
It is really interesting because I get the feeling it's a bit of a renaissance for AMD. And it's interesting you guys are all talking about 1080s, 1070s, blah, 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 blah. Because I get the feeling that AMD are also really, really owning the APU market now, whereas they used to be terrible. You can now go, buy a motherboard with a Ryzen and an inbuilt APU, and it will run PUBG and,
Absolutely.
your Fortnite and allow you to play it.
I mean, the Ryzen 3 APU chips are so appealing right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm curious about, though? All this talk about video cards. We're talking based on gaming and performance with gaming. I wonder, has anybody or does anybody in the chat use a Quadro card or something of that, or like a Fire
Pro.
I do.
Fire Pro, yeah, okay. So, because that's a different type of performance.
Absolutely. And
because those are CUDA based.
If you ever game with the
they're all CUDA based, but there's a difference in how they perform. Because
that's what I mean.
If you take a gaming card, the FPS is going to be much faster put through than it is on a Quadro.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
and also, just another very quick question for you all. If it's a great time for AMD and everybody's talking about Vega in the APUs, does that now mean the AMD RX series of graphics cards are extremely awesome value for money on Linux or not?
I have one. I have an RX 580. It seems to perform outstandingly.
Brilliant. Thanks.
I was going to say, I was going to say, according to Ryan, basically, because he's got the Vega card, that basically, if you want the best out of the box, like open sourcey experience, AMD is the way to go.
Yeah.
That's how.
So, Alan, you were starting to comment on that. Well, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about that.
On the 580 or the Quadro cards?
The Quadros or Fire Pros.
Okay, so I use a lot of things like that for kind of like modeling applications. So things that aren't necessarily tied to to gaming. They're more or less taking a whole bunch of calculations and trying to create, things with floating point operations is kind of what they do. And I definitely think that if you're going for the high-end professional market in terms of like Quadro versus Fire Pro and stuff, Quadro's still a bit more appealing. I like a lot of the things that they did with their their really high-end like SSD attached card, but that has a lot less of a benefit in most cases than just a straight up Quadro.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, that was the biggest mistake that I think some people made when they were trying to pick a card. Are you using it as a workstation? Are you using it as gaming? Because if you're going to try to game with a Quadro or something like that, or a Fire Pro, you're in trouble. You're not going to.
Even the GTX Titan, which everyone's like, oh man, I paid a lot for this gaming rig. I've got 2 Titans in there. Well, they're stupid because Titans aren't actually tuned and made for that kind of workload.
Right. And I actually had early on when I built the system, it's weird. UPS couldn't get this card to me to save its soul without damaging it, even in its enclosure. But I tried doing a Quadro in this machine because I actually built it initially for design work. Okay, I was using a program called SoftPlan. It's it's architectural design software. And finally I got frustrated, and that's when I bought the 760 that's in here. And I knew going in that the only potential issue I could have had was some possible stuttering when I was doing fly-throughs or heavy renders and stuff like that. And truthfully, I never even had that issue with this. But that being said, it still wasn't the totally appropriate card for that. So to me, could you get away with doing some kind of workstation workflow with a gaming card? Possibly.
If you're going to go, yeah, absolutely, you definitely could. You're going to see some drop off between what it's great at and when you're using it for something it's
not the other way
less
around.
Capable of. But what's actually funny is, despite me saying it's the wrong use case for a Titan, I just said Titan twice. If you go for something that's very focused on your work,
have a good night, guys. Thanks
have a good night, man.
Something that
maybe we'll see you next week.
Closer to that Quadro type of stuff, but you still do a lot of gaming, it's not as crazy. But in any other situation, I mean, a 1080 Ti, a 1080 would absolutely be more than fine. I definitely think the only time it's justified is when that's the only thing you're really going to be doing with it, like putting it into a rendering server. I had a machine not long ago with 4 separate GPUs in it doing nothing but rendering out video. And the only reason that was in any way, shape, or form useful was because they were made for that. They wouldn't be good with gaming. They're good at just processing that kind of data.
Well, that's good to know, because the NVIDIA Titan is 1,700 quid.
Oh, they're ridiculous.
Yeah,
if you get the gold one, though, it's like 3 times more.
That would be cool, huh? To have a gold video card.
Don't they have special limited edition branded versions as well, which are ridiculous?
Yeah, they have some Star Wars ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we'll give that a miss. I'll stick with me 1060 for now.
I really am getting the itch to try a Ryzen build with an APU as opposed to a graphics card, just to see how it really does perform on Linux.
Hey, Rob, from Linux Quest, we used to, do distros all the time, and we used to check out a distro together, the same week, and I would have so many more issues than him because all he was, he had a Intel CPU, and he just had the integrated graphics. So it was like he would install a distro and have twice as less problems as me because I had an NVIDIA graphics card.
Yeah,
but you know what he couldn't do with that Intel integrated graphics?
Render video.
No, he couldn't have fancy fog in Minecraft.
There you go. But if you don't game, if you're not a big gamer. But yeah, if you could get a chip now, if you could get a Ryzen and do a build like that's very, very, very appealing.
My mom's laptop is a Ryzen chip like that.
I mean, I'm only talking the esports stuff here. I'm not talking, but if you can get a complete PC for like £250 and comfortably on Linux run esports titles like CS:GO, that sort of stuff on the APU, how cool is that?
Yeah.
It's all the games I'm good at,
Your gameplay would state otherwise, Chicken.
Yeah, that wouldn't help your gameplay, really.
Nice.
Says the sniper.
What? I don't. No, I'm terrible at it.
I mean,
right.
I think it says a lot when you even see Intel chips with Ryzen graphics, Radeon graphics packages on them. I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say when Intel has to partner with their rival in CPUs to make a decent GPU.
Can I just say to everybody, don't worry about your in-game ratings, because even Sudoku doesn't want me near them, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. All right, so our challenge is Manjaro Deep In. Everybody has to download it.
All right.
Well, I'll do it. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do a Fat Dog since I've already got Deep In installed.
Fantastic, Colin. And the one area you need to study, Colin, which is really cool, is SFS.
SFS.
San Francisco sausage.
Really, really cool. What it is, it's a pre-compiled application package that you install that runs outside of the operating system's resources. And it's so cool. It really, really. So check it out, dude.
Well, that sounds snazzy.
You'll have to do a video on it, EB.
Yeah, I used to. When it was Puppy, I used to do all these videos on Puppy Linux and tell everybody how cool it is. And like everybody was like, yeah, great, EB. Anyway, moving on.
They're so thrilled.
Well, okay, but that's cool to have. I mean, it's cool to try out and it's cool to have, but I can't see myself using that on a daily basis.
Oh, you would do, Rocco. It's so cool. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're running Fat Dog 64 on an 8 gigabyte USB thumb drive, right? Let's just, for argument's sake, say the install with swap is using 4 to 5 gigabytes. So you got 3 gigabytes of free space. Normally, what would happen is you would integrate that 3 gigabytes of free space as storage space, right? Which slowly gets eaten up, blah, 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 blah. With an SFS file, what you do is you download and install your SFS file outside of your main install into that spare 3 gigabytes. So it never has any impact on your original OS's resources and still runs blazingly fast. It's just it's almost like permanently sandboxing applications that have zero impact on your operating system. And it's just so cool. But 99% of people just don't grasp it. And that's fair enough. But if you can get your head around Puppy or Fat Dog, it just blows all your standard distros out of the water. But a little warning, any Puppy derivative by default in its looks and feel is very basic. So
1980, yeah.
Yeah, it is, Seb. It is, because it's designed around speed and usability. It's not designed around eye candy and the latest look. So do bear that. And it's not for most people, let alone for everybody, trust me. So, but if you can get your head around it, it's a cool little challenge. And once you've got, I mean, it's best to do a 16 gig, but you can do it on an 8 gig. Once you've got an 8 gig USB thumb drive that you can plug into anybody's computer, it boots, it works, it's lightning fast, and all your resources that you use are operated outside of the operating system. It's just an awesome, different Linux experience. And that's all I was badly trying to say. It's awesome.
So that package is actually outside the operating system on the USB, though, is it?
Yep,
actually on the USB.
Correct. So let's for an example, a good example would be LibreOffice. We know how big a LibreOffice suite install is. To have it in a single contained file outside of the operating system, so it's got no impact on resources, and yet it still loads instantly blinded. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just such a cool concept. It really,
but you still only have the 3 gigabytes of space, so you're still limited.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I'm saying, Rocco, what it doesn't do, it doesn't install itself and all the dependencies and all the resources it needs. Try running Google Chrome as an SFS file, and you'll instantly see what I'm talking about.
Right.
It's so cool. It really is.
Right.
But anyway,
I'll check it out.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it, Colin. If you need any help, Colin, give me a shout, man. Yeah.
So
I have
that
run
would be
Puppy in the past.
That would be cool to have like a bigger USB drive and where you could have like more space on it.
Yeah.
And have your files.
16 gig.
16 gig is ideal. Yeah, that's perfect.
Or 32 gig.
Yeah, 32
gig.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another 32. I've got them all here.
256.
This is my favorite one though, because I can go USB 3 or USB-C.
Yeah, 1 terabyte.
Got one of those SanDisk flippers.
That's right, yeah, and it's awesome on the USB-C. It works so much quicker.
Yeah, 1 terabyte, read them and weep. You know what I mean?
Wow.
That's just an ordinary. That's just an ordinary external USB drive, though.
So what's a USB key?
Okay, well, if you want to play, hang on.
Well, I got my 5 terabyte here. Should I dig that out too?
I bet Zeb's got a grid dipper here, isn't it?
They are 8 terabytes. There's 4 of them in total.
Whose is bigger?
So next, Steve, where are you going now, mate?
I can only bow in respect to you. All hail to the Zeb. You really did strip that warship visit, didn't you? I bet there's nothing left on that warship.
Well, so Colin, you're going to have to do the Fat Dog, and I'm probably going to do both. Like, I'm going to try both of them, I think.
Yeah, I want to do Fat Dog.
Really cool.
One thing I do want to do is, because I've been running Ubuntu for a while, I've done a video on the Linux Mint 19 beta, but I haven't looked at it since it released.
Oh,
so I might put that on my main for a few months. I think, see how that runs.
And Chip, no worries. Chip in the chat said that he wants us to try Manjaro KDE because he loves Manjaro and he loves KDE. But like I said, I do have that on my USB stick already, so that is the first thing that's going on this week. So no worries, I will be trying it.
Nice.
Anybody try the Ubuntu Studio we were supposed to do?
We talked about that when you weren't here, Dan. It was like a flop.
If you want to call it trying it.
So what did you think of it, Dan?
I had the worst time getting it to install in a VM. I had to kind of trick it and think that it was installed and then use the disk that was in the VM that appeared for the installation and take that route. And that's the only way it'd bite. But then I couldn't get the sound in it to work.
That's why the challenges are supposed to be on bare metal.
On real metal, yeah. You can't do challenges on USB keys or in VMs.
Bare metal, okay. One Ubuntu Studio on bare metal.
And it didn't work.
I'm able to pull them in and out just like candy, man. This thing holds 12 of them.
Oh, nice.
I love it.
I put it on bare metal. It behaved a lot better, but there was things that you opened up and played with, and then it would just freeze up, and then I just had to reboot it, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't either, because this boots in under 8 seconds on my machine.
Oh, it booted up really fast. It's just a certain thing would just tick it off and it'd freeze.
Yeah, I haven't had any problems that way.
Rocco, I noticed Dan's got a Vegemite jar in the background there.
Dan is the crazy person that last week took a ridiculous amount and put it on bread and started eating it.
Yeah, he watched. You'd almost think he saw Popey after the segment when he went like this.
Oh. I'm thinking about starting a new YouTube channel, Cooking with Vegemite.
The only difference was after he did that, he couldn't talk for 5 minutes. Hey, wait a minute. He couldn't talk for 5 minutes. Hey, EB, why don't you try taking a bite out of a half a jar? I love you.
Spicy.
Joe, I figured you would say that to Michael.
He's not here.
But the thing is, Joe, right? Marmite, Vegemite, it's a spread. It's no big deal. You want to challenge? Get yourself a genuine, proper old jar of English
piccalilli. I watched your video. I pay attention.
That is a challenge, Joe, because you've got ludges of cauliflower, mustard, and it's like, really?
Oh, so what exactly is it?
It's an old English pickle which has a English mustard base which blows your neck off before you start. And I'm talking about a proper old English jar, not the commercial muck that you can buy. And it's filled with raw vegetables such as cauliflower, cucumber, that sort of stuff. And it's designed to be served up with, cheese and bread and that sort of thing. And it's a very quintessential English pickle. And it's worse than Marmite. I mean, you either love or you hate Marmite.
You know what that almost sounds like, Rocco?
Say again.
It almost sounds like Jardiniere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. It's awful. It's awful. But yeah, look, if you want to challenge. So maybe install Fat Dog 64 on a USB thumb drive whilst throwing up on Piccalilli.
No, thanks. No. Not going to happen.
They'll have to change it to Big Daddy Linux Dead Show.
Right? No, I didn't even take the Vegemite Marmite thing challenge.
Yeah, we noticed.
Yeah.
Sorry, it just wasn't going to happen.
Rocco.
Right in there with the Marmite, I have to say.
Rocco prefers not being sick.
Yeah, like
I didn't get sick. It just had an aftertaste that lasted for a day and a half, but that was about it.
I'm pretty sure Ryan got sick. He went out for.
That's Geeky's not here this week because he's still trying to wash the taste out of his mouth. Yeah.
They were complaining the whole night after that.
Yeah, but actually you're wrong because with the rest of the jar, Ryan did repair some cracks in his driveway up to his front door.
It does look like asphalt tar too.
It's awful.
Well, Derek from DistroTip, he said that he wasn't going to throw his away because he wasn't going to throw it away because he paid $7 for it. And Ryan was like, "I'll pay somebody $7 to get rid of it."
Mine's still sitting in the fridge in the
I'm gonna patch my roof with mine probably.
Yep.
So basically, calling it nuclear waste was about accurate.
I don't know whose face was more priceless though, Michael's or Dan's. I think Dan had a edge.
I think Dan had the winner there. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like.
But then Dan had about 8 times as much as Michael heard us when we said spread it thinly. Dan just went, yeah, come on, slap that on there.
I had to go get some.
In fairness, Michael did take a gob on his finger, I think, didn't he? And he took a little bit of a gob.
Yeah, but Dan, as I say, Dan had about 10 times too much on his, and it was interesting because he bit it and thought, well, what's the problem with wow? And then he hit
it.
Yeah, happy days.
So that was an interesting Linux conversation, Marmite.
I'll say.
I've got the next challenge for you guys though, and it's coffee grounds wrapped in spinach leaves.
Oh, really?
Why would you do that, dude?
Coffee grounds in spinach leaves.
Did you do it? Use a spittoon?
Yeah, right.
It's way worse than you think it is too. Like you think it's pretty bad. It's even worse when you do it.
Well, you guys over in the States have just had a thought. You used to have a fantastic show that I used to love watching over here, and it was an absolute nutball of a guy, and it was called Man versus Food.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that guy.
So, Rocco, I think you should do definitely a Man versus Linux.
Man versus Linux.
And that's going to weed out all the
Yeah, but I don't think he came to a good ending, that guy, if I'm not mistaken.
He had a heart attack, Joe, I think, in real life, didn't he?
Is that right?
Yep.
Did he really?
Yeah.
He fought the food and the food won.
And where is Scrap Job when we need him?
Oh, right? So true.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm disappointed. Where's Michael tonight? I love Michael.
Well, okay, so he has trouble with time. And
really, no shot there.
He sent me a message, and I can't remember exactly what time it was. Okay, so it was 10:31. He sent me a message and said, I'm not at home. I'll be back in about 30 minutes at 10:31.
All right.
So
He's probably still out. Yeah, he's probably still out.
So 2 hours later, he's still not here. Yeah.
So he basically has a timetable like Steve Martin did in The Jerk. But 5 days feels like 2 hours, and
Zeb, just so you know, Madhouse Jack's just typed, I think it would be great for the show for Zeb to get the Aussie hat, with all the corks on. Then you really would look like an aging, sort of.
Rolf Harris?
No, not Rolf Harris. Although you would look like Rolf Harris, but you got the didgeridoo there for sure. But no, what was Oh God! Oh, I'll tell you what, I hate my brain.
Right, Steve Irwin, you're talking about?
No. Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, Steve Irwin.
And
that's Steve Irwin.
Crocodile Dundee with his cork.
Yeah, but he never had a beard.
No, well, he did later on in life. He did.
Because the crocodiles kept eating it.
Yeah,
Steve, just for the record, one of my favorite shows over there was Benny Hill.
Oh, I love that show. You just couldn't air it today. We had loads of cool shows.
No, you couldn't air that today.
No.
That would never fly.
I used to love it. I used to slap all the ladies' bottoms and run round after them in like 100 times speed. Fantastic.
Yeah. I can still hear the music.
You just couldn't.
I could just see Zeb in his core cat going, "Crikey, Rocco, that distro didn't work." Rocco, it didn't work, mate. Crikey.
That would
believe that.
That would be an awesome show. What we could do is I could go around to different places and just install Linux on their machines.
Yeah.
To do a chicken wing?
Hey now.
Door knocking. That's it.
Yep.
Man versus Linux.
I'm your door-to-door Linux man. Your Linux needs to be updated.
I bet you I could get people to do it. Bet you I could.
I bet you.
Hey, that would be a good challenge for all of us to try.
The first 3 episodes, it could be like you've got to go to the local public library and install Linux on there to see how long it is.
The thing is, you've got to demonstrate it like you're selling a vacuum cleaner.
Well, they would probably be the easiest because they wouldn't be upset because they probably have an ISO image of their computers. They could just flip it back on. You might get sued if you're doing it at Best Buy. Chicken.
Hey now. I'm cool with the guys.
But then again, it might fix most of Best Buy's computers.
Yeah,
their displays. Oh,
it's time for the last word.
Oh,
Zeb.
Don't forget to join us at 12. Is it 12 noon EST?
Yes.
Yep. For the next Destination Linux, it's going to be a blast.
What are you blasting?
Oh, everything
Ryan.
and anything. Ryan.
Yeah.
That's every week.
Well, based on how my Ubuntu Studio challenge went for everybody, with Manjaro here, how deep into it do I have to get?
Wow.
Oh, that
Colin?
wasn't bad at all.
Colin?
Where's Carmine's trunk when you need it?
Right?
Any deep in
I'm
this
gonna
stuff.
hold the fat dog.
Jensu.
I don't have a nice line. Just thanks.
That's the last word. Nice. Matt?
I'm going to be skipping this one just so I can.
No, you're not, Matt. You're not allowed to skip it. You're not
Oh,
allowed
no,
to skip
I
it.
am skipping this challenge.
You are
I
totally
am
not
all
allowed to skip it.
set. That is the depth
I'll come over there.
will not go.
Don't make me come over there.
He's got the perfect device to put it on.
It'll
too.
be the first episode of Man versus Linux.
Yeah, there you go.
I am all set installing that on the Surface Pro 2. Thank you, there, Joe.
Yeah.
Chicken.
There's only so much no you can yes.
Okay. All right. EB.
No, you can.
Deer in the headlights.
I guess for me it would be tired of enjoying your Linux in a safe environment. Have a bit of Windows 7. Fill your boots with drive-by hacks.
Welcome back.
Lamer.
I want to give Fat Dog a try.
Nice. Are you going to do the Manjaro Deep In challenge? Huh?
Or not.
What?
So I just saw Linux Mint on my new laptop, so.
Okay. All right. Dan?
I'm a yes man, but no.
Okay. All right, so
the deepen, I got this drive here. We'll peel off the Ubuntu and we'll put the deepen on it and see how that goes.
We'll expect to hear back from you next week, Dan.
All right.
All right, so I am going to try Manjaro Deepin, Manjaro KDE, and Fat Dog this week, hopefully.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens with those. Because I
Good
did
luck
make a
with that,
drive. I need it. I did make a drive with 15 partitions, I think, on it. So,
Wow.
yeah. So we're good to go there.
Wow, you're dicing it up pretty good there.
And as... Go ahead, Zeb.
I was going to say, just for you, Rocco, Michael's just appeared in Telegram.
Nice.
Always on time. Michael time.
Well, as Zeb said, check out Destination Linux tomorrow at noon. We should be live because, and let's put it this way, if all plans go well, we should be live at noon Eastern. And thanks for joining us. You guys, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care.